A massive Bengals trade is incoming as we have a huge update to go over today as a trade offer has been leaked for one of their superstar players. And as we are now just days away from the deadline, we're going to break down this massive update and discuss what it means going forward. But not only that, we have some big updates ahead of the crucial game against the Bears as things have taken another encouraging turn. Ton to go over on this episode, but before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support's been unbelievable. We're on the road to the goal of 10,000 subscribers and the smaller goal of 5,000. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, folks. A lot to go over today, and obviously with the trade deadline just a few days away on November 4th, it's still unclear whether the Bengals are going to be buyers or sellers. There'll probably be a mix of both, but a brand new report has dropped revealing not only the Bengals asking price for Trey Hendrickson, but also a new report revealing that a trade is more likely than a lot of fans are thinking. And let's start with the report here, and rumor rather, surrounding Trey Hendrickson. We also have some more reports from more firm insiders later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. But let's start with this. The Bengals, according to reports, want at least a first-round pick in exchange for Trey Hendrickson. And obviously, Trey Hendrickson at this point in time is questionable for the game on Sunday. He was out for a few weeks and then, of course, returned last week and didn't do a whole lot, left halfway through the game, and clearly was much, much less than 100%. And I don't even know if you could consider him 50% in the last game with how poor he played. But this is an interesting one. Now, we obviously know there was holdouts in the offseason about an extension and the contract. They ultimately agreed on a one-year deal here, and he is a pending free agent, and the Bengals have to make a decision here. And whether or not they win this upcoming game against the Bears is still up in the air. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet, but if they do, the biggest question mark is going to be whether the Bengals are buying at the deadline and trying to win and make the playoffs with Joe Burrow returning at some point this season, or whether they're going to try to hold out and maybe sell some of their players off like Trey Hendrickson. And this is interesting because at the end of the day here, he's their best defensive player. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. However, if he's going to leave in the offseason anyway, you're probably better off getting some sort of asset for him, especially because realistically, the chances the Bengals making a deep playoff push are low at this point. Things can change pretty quickly. They have a good schedule. Of course, the Ravens play tonight, I believe it is, and of course, the Steelers play on Sunday against the Colts, who are a very good team. We'll touch on the Colts here in a few minutes, but first round pick, just leave down below in the comment section, would you trade Hendrickson for a first round pick? Now, looking at another report that dropped here, you can see here, a reporter swears that the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson trade makes sense. Now, this article basically goes on to say, it was on the Pat McAfee show, Peter Schrager, and Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson is one of the top names to watch ahead of the deadline, not because the Bengals necessarily entertain the idea of it happening, but because onlookers will continue to swear it will be, of course, a trade that'll rock the NFL. Now, ESPN's Peter Schrager went on to say, I think Trey Hendrickson is a very viable option to be traded based on what you see on paper. This is a guy who is making reasonable money. He's in the final year of a contract, and he's already been unhappy. And of course, this unhappiness is being referred to regarding, of course, this offseason when there was holdouts in the contract. Things were looking pretty rough on that end. They ultimately got it done, and I think we don't really know what the relationship is behind the scenes at this point, but for him to go on and say you're not going to get big names traded this week, you're going to get through the weekend, and then there's going to be some action, I think Trey Hendrickson is a very viable option to be traded. That, of course, caused a lot of stir, and then, of course, this report about a first-round pick. If a first-round pick gets offered for Hendrickson, I think the Bengals will probably seriously consider it at this point, just because of the fact that, yes, there is still a good chance they make the playoffs. It's not out of the realm of possibility. If they go ahead and they win, me and Isaac discussed it yesterday, if you win against the Bears on Sunday, you're in a very good spot because of how, I guess, poor the division has played this year. And obviously, Lamar Jackson coming back tonight. You have the Colts playing the Steelers. I mean, a lot of people are saying that their biggest competitor is going to be the Ravens. The Bengals have a very easy schedule. Some of the easiest in the NFL, some of the easiest. They're one of the easiest in the division. You can go ahead and take care of business. And trading Trey Hendrickson might put a wrench in that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens Sunday. But we know that reports so far have said the Bengals have shot down Hendrickson trade offers, even if Hendrickson's injury that has the Bengals mad hasn't been super serious yet, and we don't know at this point how serious it's going to be. They can just franchise tag him at the end of the season and do that. So I think if they lose to the Bears here, a trade becomes much more likely. If they win, they're probably going to want to keep him available, keep him ready to go in case they make a big push, in case Joe Burrow comes back. And the health, of course, Joe Flacco as well is up in the air at this point. So let me know, would you do a deal surrounding Trey Hendrickson for a first-round pick? Do you think they should keep him? Or do you think that they should extend him in the offseason or even just franchise tag him and then figure it out after next year? Let me know down below what your thoughts are. But let's also dive into a couple other things here. The Bears, of course, is their matchup. The Bengals, that is, on Sunday. And a report came out yesterday. The Bears' top four receivers, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and then a few other guys as well, all did not practice yesterday. So the Bears' offensive core here and Some of their O-line as well, I believe, is out with, or at least going to be very beat up. Might play Sunday, might not. You can see here the Bengals could use a break. This would be very encouraging. If Jake Browning's having to go up against a fully healthy Bears team, I don't know how much of a. I mean, they do have a chance, of course. There always is a chance when you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But Joe Flacco, I think he's going to try to play. He probably will play, but he won't be 100%. It'd be nice if Caleb Williams also doesn't have a 100% team over there on the opposition side. You can look at their full injury report. The Bears, few DNPs, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, all these different guys. Cole Kmet is limited, so a few of those guys will probably play. I wouldn't mind if a couple of their wide receivers are out. That being said, we look back to the game against the Jets, and they didn't have Garrett Williams. They didn't have a lot of their A plus players, and the Bengals still lost. So it's gonna be interesting on that front. And then of course on the Bengals side of things, we know Dylan Fairchild, he's back, but Joe Flacco with his right shoulder injury was a DNP. Same with Trey Hendrickson, and that's something lost in this as well, as I kind of briefly mentioned it. If he's hurt and he's gonna be out for a while, trade value. They're probably not going to trade him, right? Other teams might not, want that. At the same time, if he is inching closer and closer, he is questionable, which is a good sign. At least he's not ruled out already. It'll be interesting. Logan Wilson was also a DNP and didn't practice, whether that's because of an injury, whether that's because of him just having a horrible game last week, or whether it's because of his trade request. That is obviously up in the air a little bit here, but at the end of the day, Joe Flacco is by far the biggest one. If you have to roll out Jake Browning, you'll probably be in a little bit of trouble, especially given what we saw at the start of the season for him. I do think that Joe Flacco, though, will try his very best to play on Sunday. And at the end of the day here, the Bears, they're a decent team. The Bengals should be able to win and move to 4-5, but you have a lot of work to do even if you win that game. And that's why this game ahead of the bye week is going to be crucial. Also heading into the trade deadline on November 4th. That will be, I mean, if they win, they'll probably go at least make a couple of additions just to try to give this team a push. They probably won't be blockbuster moves. They could be, get some help to your defense, because having a look at this stat here, we know how bad it's been. Prior to week 6, the Bengals had given up 14 points in the fourth quarter 3 times in the previous 14 games. And obviously having Trey Hendrickson out has hurt them a little bit, but they need defensive help. Maybe they'll go out and look to acquire somebody within the division. The Steelers just acquired their safety as soon as Deshaun Elliott got hurt. They got Kyle Duggar, so maybe the Bengals follow suit following a win. And one name and a team to keep an eye out on for Trey Hendrickson is the Indianapolis Colts. You can see here Hendrickson and Colts defensive coordinator are close from the latter years spent at the same position in Cincinnati, and they could use some help down there with Trey Hendrickson. So it's going to be interesting. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Again, the Colts pass rush has been solid, but they're always looking to upgrade, and maybe they can do the Bengals a favor on Sunday when they go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on all this and the historically bad Bengals defense that we've seen thus far this year. Obviously, trading away your best defensive player seems a little bit counterproductive, but it'll be interesting to see what happens given the current state of the team.